your go-to source for breaking sports news in Central Texas and exclusive Dallas Cowboys coverage.
Come on, start it up. Let's go.
Catch us Monday through Thursday from 5 to 7 p.m. on the Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into another episode of Centex Primetime. I am your host, Jalen Gillis, getting ready to take you through the primetime topics in sports, not just in the Central Texas area, but from all around the nation. Hope everybody is having a great afternoon today as we are closer and closer to Christmas, just a little over a week away from Christmas time. So happy holidays to everybody out there listening in with us. And once again, want to thank you guys for joining in and tuning in with us. For our new listeners on Centex Magic 94.5, as well as our listeners on Centex Sports Network, on YouTube, and on Infinity Sports Radio, Central Texas. Folks, we got a lot planned here today on the show, so we're going to get right to it. Joining me in studio today, I have Rocky Miller, who you guys just heard, also calling the La Vega game last Friday, as well as we're gearing up and getting ready for La Vega to go to state this Friday at 11 o'clock. Rocky, what's going on?
Hey, man, what's good? You know, it's always good to be here with you talking sports, one of my favorite things, man. I had a great time also calling the La Vega game this weekend. It was a sensational performance by the La Vega Pirates. They really, their offense really turned it on and really dominated that game. And for a trip to the state title game.
Yeah.
And so when you think about what's at stake, they're going to play for all the marbles this Friday. And guess what? You can listen to it where?
Right here on Centex Magic 94.5. Folks, like I said, I want to thank everybody for tuning in with us. We're going to start right there today talking a little bit about this La Vega Pirate team. Yesterday I had Mr. Cedric Eigerhart on the show, and he talked a little bit about his experience getting a chance to call this La Vega team and see this team up close and personal all year long. And as Rocky just alluded to, last week we were in Georgetown, Texas, to watch this La Vega Pirate team take on the Wimberley team that was pretty experienced coming into that game. They had been to the Final Four teams 3 years in a row, led by a dual-threat quarterback that was tearing everybody up all year long. And this La Vega team came out, and like Rocky just said, their offense was unstoppable. We never saw the punter. I still don't know who the punter is for La Vega right now because we did not see him at all during that game. And their offense was led by the young gun, is what I call him, and the sophomore quarterback, Courtney Parr, who played phenomenal in that game. And looked at some stats here from this year leading up. Bryson Rowland finished with another season over 2,000 yards. Once again, 2,045 yards is what he has right now, and he has moved up into the record books for all-time rushers in the Central Texas area, ranking 7th now behind guys like Denarian Thomas from Marta, Travis Landry from Chilton. These are all-time great rushers in the Central Texas area, and Bryson Rowland has written his name down in those history books now after another 2,000-yard season, now 6,500 career rushing yards at La Vega High School. Been starting since he's a freshman. Talk a little bit, Rocky, about what you've seen from Rowland in the games you've got to cover, and now his accomplishment in moving up into these record books.
Rowland is truly one of the best running backs to play in this area. When you talk about, when you couple the 4 years of starting along with the productivity, and then you always, when you look at a high school player, you always have to calculate the success of their team to kind of quantify the importance of who they are and what they mean to their team.
Yeah.
And with him in his senior year playing for it all, that kind of culminates him as one of the best in high school in this area. And I look forward to him having a huge game in the state championship game against Carthage this weekend.
Yeah, I can't wait to be able to watch that game. Like we said, folks, that game is at 11 o'clock. You'll be able to hear us on there again at 10:30, I believe, is when we'll start the pregame show.
Yeah, it's on Friday. It's not this weekend.
Yeah.
Excuse me. It's on Friday.
Friday, so y'all have to get up a little bit earlier on your Fridays for those that got the 4-day work weeks now. Have to get up a little bit earlier on your Fridays, and we'll start that pregame show at 10:30, and the game will start at 11 o'clock. They're taking on Carthage at the Big House, AT&T Stadium, at Jerry World, whatever you want to call it. and can't wait to be able to see that game. And like you said, he's got a chance to cement himself in the history books. He's already done it as a rusher, and I think I seen the stat where they said the seniors in this La Vega class were all in 6th grade, I believe, the last time La Vega won that state championship game, which I know you watched because your nephew scored that huge touchdown for him against Liberty Hill, I believe that was. And so, this team hasn't been able to see or get a chance to go to state yet. So this is all their first opportunities together. They're getting to experience it together. And I'm looking for a great showing in this game. I know Coach Hyde will be prepared. I know this defense will be prepared. I know that offense is rolling right now. Right now they're on fire. I mean, it looks like they couldn't be stopped in that game against Wimberley. So I'm expecting more of the same in this game on Friday against Carthage.
You know, and it's a huge matchup. You can really say these two teams in 4A or over the last 10 years have been the class of the division. They've played several times in the playoffs, even in a state championship, I believe. And Carthage, when you look at what they've done in the playoffs, probably the last 15 years, them going 9 times and winning 9 times.
Yeah.
La Vega will have their work cut out for them this Friday at 11 o'clock. But me having watched them, the La Vega Pirates in the end of the season and then into the playoffs, they're certainly up to the challenge. When you look at their Courtney Parr, we just mentioned Bryson Rowland. Jabari Thornton is going to be huge on Friday. Then you go on the defensive side of the ball. They have Caden Rowland, Jace Wiley, Warren Richardson Jr., Anton Good, and Amir Gibson over there. They're going to, again, this is going to be, I consider, a heavyweight fight of 2 storied programs in the 4A division. And, again, La Vega will come in there with a full complement of weapons. And so I think they have the ability to pull it off on Friday. So I can't wait. I've been, when you go into the playoffs and you hear a team has a good team, and as they play, you're waiting on them each week to have a challenge. And for whatever reason, during this playoff run, every team was supposed to be tough, and every team was stomped out by La Vega. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like every team, this was going to be tough, and then they beat them. Sealy, they're going to be tough, and they beat them handily. West Orange Stark, beat them
Early
in the year. They're going to be really tough. You got to, and La Vega dominates those guys. So again, but I think anytime during a playoff run, a team is tested, a champion is tested, their medal is tested, and to be honest with you, up to this point, La Vega hadn't been tested. Neither has Carthage. I think they will test each other on Friday at 11 a.m.
Yeah, it's the ultimate test between these two teams. Like you said, 2 heavyweight programs in this 4A division in Texas. Both teams have been contenders for state titles for the last decade. So both teams coming in expecting to win this game. When you're at this point, this is state. Everybody expects to win when you're at this point. No one's coming into state thinking, we don't have a shot here. Everybody's coming into this expecting to win. Both of these teams are storied programs, so they want to come in and make a name for themselves. And like you said, this La Vega defense all year long, they've played great, especially since district. But you see why Coach Hyde schedules these tough games in the pre-district. And I got questions during the season from different people around the city, like, man, why does La Vega schedule these guys early in the season? They're just getting beat up on early in the season, and it's messing up their record. Well, Coach Hyde knows that the only record that counts is that district record, which they went undefeated in. And up to this point, they're undefeated in the playoffs. They haven't lost it since September when they played Stephenville, who is in a division above them. So since then, they've played great. They've taken all that experience from those losses early, including to a West Orange Stark team, like you just said, Rocky, that they beat handily in the playoffs when they played them for the second time. And they took all that experience and applied it into these games moving forward from here.
As I followed them through the playoffs, calling their games, I was able to see each week how they kind of, and you say improved, but it was almost like they stepped it up a notch.
Yeah,
right. It was more than just improvement.
Mm-hmm.
It was a step up in competition, and they stepped up their game. They stepped up their intensity. They stepped up their focus. by the end of the season, this last game, there were very few penalties that was committed by La Vega.
Yeah.
There were only one turnover that I remember, which was a overthrown pass right before halftime.
Mm-hmm.
Like again, these guys have had a season that is worthy of playing for it all, and they're going to play for it all on Friday. And like I say, I'm looking. You know, last week, remember we were talking before the game as we were preparing for their game against Wembley.
Yep.
And I was saying, hey, this is going to be a tough matchup. I said, you got an experienced quarterback for Wembley, somebody who's played for a state championship as a sophomore, somebody who went to the semifinals as a junior, and who has dominated this entire season up until last week. And in a situation where I thought they would force La Vega to make Courtney Parr play a game that maybe La Vega wasn't so comfortable with, which was passing the ball down the field. And even their play-by-play guy talked about, hey, they had a plan that they were going to lock up man-to-man and commit a number of players in the box to stop Bryson Rowland. Because if they could stop Bryson Rowland, and then they could win the game, and they felt like their top corner could cover Jabari Thornton. And I say that plan lasted about 9 seconds. You know, it was 2 plays and Jabari's in the end zone.
Yeah.
And so, and both of those plays went to Jabari Thornton. And so, there were a stubborn bunch in Wembley because they came out about 3 more drives with that same game plan. And once it got to 28-7, they kind of changed it up.
Yeah.
And went to more of a zone coverage and got somebody underneath Jabari and somebody over the top. But they thought they had a really good chance. And I thought, and again, looking at the size of their players, the experience of their team, I thought they could plug it up and force Courtney Parr to pass the ball in critical situations. And again, he did pass the ball in critical situations, but he wasn't forced to. That was the game plan coming out for La Vega, was to attack their secondary.
It was.
Bryson didn't even touch the ball until the second drive. Matter of fact, the first carry went to actually my man, the Hammer.
The Hammer Jones.
Albert the Hammer Jones. And so I mean, Bryson didn't touch it the first series, and then again in the second series, he's definitely, from that point on, he touched it a lot. And so he was, you know, he ended up with nearly 200 yards rushing by the end of the game.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to me that Wembley came in with a plan they thought would work, and just about everything they thought would work didn't work. And I think that was largely because they didn't realize how good a player Courtney Parr was.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
They underestimated how effective he could be, not only as a passer, but a runner, because he walked in on 2 touchdowns.
He did.
On Friday as well. So, like I say, it was a great game by La Vega. We'll have the privilege of calling the game right here. I look forward to it. I want to shout out to we got a title sponsor for the broadcast.
Okay.
I want to shout out to Jason Lavender over at TFNB. They stepped up and became the title sponsor, because broadcasting in Jerry World is not free.
It is not free. I don't think anything is free up there, man. I was just up there for that Texans-Cowboys game, and it was $5 for some water. I say, all right, I'll be thirsty, but
and Jerry don't let you bring a sack lunch either.
No, he don't let you bring anything. The first time I went to Cowboy Stadium with one of my friends, actually Kyrell, who's on here all the time. He thought he was gonna get in with a big old bag.
Never missed the hilarious Ricky Smiley.
#1 show in the city.
I threw it in the trash in front of him and said enjoy as he walked in. So nothing is free up there. So definitely shout out to TFNB for becoming the title sponsor there. And folks, we're excited, if you can't tell, to be able to call this game and watch this game on Friday. Once again, at 11 a.m. right here on Centex Magic 94.5. You'll be able to listen to all the action for your La Vega Pirates as they go for a chance to win another state title against the Carthage Bulldogs. Before we move on to some NFL, because I want to wrap up Week 14 in the NFL, what just happened, I want to talk a little bit about the other home team here in the Baylor Bears, who have a bowl game coming up against LSU. And I believe that's on the 31st. They have a bowl game coming up. Just in your estimation of what you've seen from both teams early on in this season, what is kind of your first thoughts about this Baylor and this LSU matchup, the Big 12 SEC that we see every now and then in these bowl games? I think Baylor played Ole Miss in New Orleans a few years ago, so kind of reminiscent of that, them getting a chance to play considered a top dog in the SEC, I guess, in the LSU team, even though they had sort of a down year. What's your first thoughts about this Baylor and LSU matchup?
Well, whenever you talk about SEC and Big 12, immediately comes to mind is that there may be a mismatch. Mm-hmm. A mismatch in talent.
Yeah. Not
necessarily coaching, but a mismatch in talent. And so when I did a little digging on this matchup, when I look at it, LSU's had a down year, but they lost to some really tough teams. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They've lost to some really tough teams. And then Baylor's also had a year where it started off kind of rough, but down the stretch they kind of got it together and played pretty decent and beat some people that they probably thought they would beat going into the season. Mm-hmm. But after the first 4 games, you didn't know what Baylor was working with because that Colorado loss was heartbreaking, and it took them a couple weeks to get over that. And then once they played, something happened in the Texas Tech game. Yeah. And then after the Texas Tech game, Bryson Washington kind of turned it up, and ever since then, they've been playing pretty consistent, and the quarterback has been playing much better as well. So on the LSU side now, when you talk about bowl games, you always got to look at who's going to participate. And Baylor, I think all their guys, full complement of guys, are going to participate. Mainly, there's not a lot of upperclassmen there. Mm-hmm. And so, they're going to have a full complement of players. LSU, you have to look at, because usually they have, historically, they have guys preparing for the NFL, going all the way back to Leonard Fournette. You may have guys that choose not to play in the bowl game, so you have to look at that. My main concern is this, is if their quarterback, Nussmeier, can avoid making turnovers, then LSU has a talent to beat anybody.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, that's the biggest issue there. They have a quarterback that was highly touted. Nussmeier's highly touted. However, for some reason, in the big games and in the big moments, he can't avoid the big mistake. But to be honest with you, I look for LSU to pull this one out against Baylor. But again, the spread is close. Last time I looked,
it was still 1 point.
Yeah, it was 2 points when I looked.
Okay,
it's 1 point. So what do I know? Yeah. And so I don't know if they're looking for Baylor to play over their head, or they're looking for LSU to play as a team that's not really excited about playing in the Texas Bowl. Yeah. And maybe underachieve, so to speak. So, but again, I'm looking forward to that game. And to be honest with you, though, I pick LSU to win. I surely hope Baylor has a great showing in that game.
No, for sure. I'm the same way. I think LSU has a slight edge in this game, but of course I'm pulling for Baylor. I'm a Baylor fan, and like you said, this LSU team, they've got 4 losses, but they lost to 4 good teams. They lost to USC the first game of the year in Vegas, kind of closer to a home game for USC there, and then they went on a win streak after that, beating teams like South Carolina, beating teams like Ole Miss, and then they lost to A&M, they lost to Alabama, and they lost to Florida. So they lost to some good teams, and but the thing that I think will make it a little bit closer is who's going to participate. I've already seen at least 4 or 5 guys jump into the portal from LSU. I can't remember who it is that said they're probably not going to participate in the game. I'm interested to see is Will Campbell, who might be a top 5 pick at left tackle, is he going to participate in this game? So participation is going to be LSU's biggest enemy really going into this game. Like you said, most of the Baylor guys are going to play in this one. But I'm looking forward to that game as well.
And I'll say this, and the reason why a kid goes to LSU is to play for national championship.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a and I'm not defending the kids, but I think it's a bit of a letdown.
Oh yeah.
When you go to LSU and you end up playing for in the Texas Bowl, right? Whereas Baylor, you go to that program with hopes of playing in a bowl game.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And so when you get to a bowl game like the Texas Bowl, you're ecstatic, you're happy. Matter of fact, you probably getting a chance to play LSU is a better opponent than you probably could imagine. And to put a feather in your cap as for Dave Aranda to get a win in a bowl game over LSU is a much bigger deal than LSU getting the win over Baylor. So I think that kind of factors into maybe the motivation behind the players and some of the LSU players electing to not play in that game. And so, again, the transfer portal is crazy right now.
Man.
And so, and like I say, this time of year, everybody's for sale.
Everybody, man. I'm seeing the Zion Branch kid from USC, him and his brother Lee. I mean, you the best player on the team. He just jumped into the transfer portal. I'm looking at all these different quarterbacks that just jumped into the transfer portal. I forget the kids. Aaron Nolan, I think his name was, the quarterback at Ohio State who redshirted this year and was supposed to be the guy. He was a big 5-star quarterback coming out a couple years ago in high school. He's jumped into the transfer portal. I'm like, man, this is crazy. This is honestly a tough time to be a college coach because if you can't pay what you weigh in this market right now, how do you keep these kids?
So I'll say this. This is college football right now. Mm-hmm. It's no longer tradition and programs anymore. It's money, playing time, and relationships in that order.
Yeah.
Money, playing time, and relationships. And so again, there were some rumors out there that Ryan Williams from Alabama was going to get in the portal.
Yeah.
I don't know that any of that will pan out.
They're going to drop the bags.
I'm sure they're going to pony up rather than lose him to the portal. But man, this is an interesting time of year. It adds to a lot of unpredictability in the market. When you talk about betting markets. Yeah. As I look at the bowl season is just underway, you really don't know what you think you know.
Yeah, you don't.
So be careful during this time of year with your bets and make sure you know for sure who's playing, because I suspect this, like Colorado said they're going to have their full complement of players against BYU. Mm-hmm. Again, I don't doubt that they will. But to what extent is Travis Hunter going to play? To what extent Shadour's going to play, right? Oddly enough, I don't think there's but one player in Colorado who's entered the portal thus far that I can remember, that I know of. And that kid, and I think he's a kid that was a reserve linebacker, if I'm not mistaken. So they haven't had a lot of guys jumping in the portal. And to Dion's credit, they were real. When you talk about frontline players, they were a really young team. When you think about it. And so, again, I look at this time of year, very unpredictable. You have to really pay attention if you're going to be wagering in these games. And just because a kid suits up, that doesn't mean he's necessarily going to play. And that's what I'm being mindful of. Just because Travis and Shadour is going to show up, I don't know how much they're going to play with those guys being top 5 pick. If their dad wasn't the head coach,
exactly.
I don't know if they'd even suit up. They would have probably separated themselves from the team and been going over to some NFL workout facility to prepare for the upcoming draft.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know how much they play still in this game, even with their dad being the coach. I mean, if BYU gets up in this game 17-0, 21-0, you're going to keep playing the guys in there, just keep going, especially if in the second half or something like that, or vice versa. If Colorado gets up 24-0, 30-0, are you going to keep playing them in the second quarter, in the third quarter? So, not sure. Like you said, be very careful as you guys make your wagers going into this bowl season, because you never know unless you're talking about the college football playoffs.
I got an interesting option that teams or bowl games should consider.
Mm-hmm.
Each bowl game should have a win bonus for the players. And I think that would encourage each team to win. That's why I think there's a problem with the college playoff system. That's what I really think. Because they didn't cut the players in. They cut the conferences in.
For sure.
But they didn't cut the players in.
Yeah.
In these bowl games that are televised, people playing, they should have some type of win bonus, some type of fee that they're paying the players. If that was the case, there would be much more buy-in from the players. And I think starting in 2025, that you should see something like that, because in 2025, players will be able to get paid directly from the school and maybe other. But I think that was to me, with the bowl games being with a lot of guys opting out of the bowl games, I think they should have, as soon as NIL became a thing, they should have incentivized the players.
For sure.
For, think about it. If a player could make an extra 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand in cash
to some college kids
for winning,
man, come on. They'll lay it out on the line. They'll play harder than they will in the conference championship game. You start adding some extra incentivized money into that.
Adding some money, adding a win bonus at the conference championship game.
Yeah. You'll see a completely
take some of that
different
money from the coaches and get to the players, man.
Yeah.
That's what I'm telling you. That's where this is going, man.
And these new TV deals. I'm looking at these college football playoff games that are about to come on. Some of these games are on TNT and HBO Max. That means new TV money, because somebody had to pay for the rights for that game. So that money went to somebody. Why not spread some of the wealth to some of these players, man? You're going to have to as we get further and further into this NIL stuff. So bowl season is right upon us, folks. We got the college football playoffs starting this weekend. We'll talk some more about that in hour number 2. Got to talk some more and wrap up some of Week 14 in the NFL. Going to a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about some more of these games in Week 14 NFLs. That just wrapped up last night with 2 Monday Night Football games. We'll talk about the NBA Cup is tonight as well, and we'll talk some more about these college football playoffs matchups. Stay tuned. Stay locked in right here on Centex Primetime. We'll be right back after this break.
Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. Catch all your in-depth sports analysis with the best. The hottest sports show in the evening is Centex Primetime, hosted by Jalen Gillis.
Act like y'all.
Weekdays 5 to 7. This is the Central Texas #1 leader in sports. Centex Sports Network.
That's right, sports fans. We can talk about sports.
And Infinity Sports.
Are you looking for something new and unforgettable in Waco? Come to the Blazing Asian, where authentic Cambodian flavors meet creative culinary flair. Voted People's Choice as Waco's #1 Asian restaurant since 2019 by both the Wacoan Magazine and the Waco Tribune Herald. Located inside the popular Union Hall on 8th and Franklin, we're serving up family recipes with a twist. Blazing Asian egg rolls are rolled fresh daily, and their sauces or marinades are made in-house with love. Stop by today. Located inside the popular Union Hall on 8th and Franklin. And for Baylor students, enjoy 10% off with your student ID.
Lighthouse Streaming, a full-scale media agency and your go-to source for all things audio and video. Is your church long overdue for audio and video upgrades? Call Lighthouse Streaming for a free consultation. Does your corporate or church event need audio or video production? Don't stress. Call the guys at Lighthouse Streaming. In business since 2017, Lighthouse Streaming has produced hundreds of live events and completed dozens of church and venue installations. Whatever your AV needs are, Lighthouse Streaming has you covered. Give them a call at 254-252-4206. That's 254-252-4206. Or go to lighthousestreaming.com and set up your free consultation.
Are you hungry for the best fried chicken in town? Check out Crispy Chicken #1, 11th and Clay, and their Monday and Tuesday special, the Snack Pack, which includes 2 pieces of chicken, fries, roll, and drink, all for only $6. Also, each Monday through Friday from 4 to 6, you can feed the family for $10 and receive 6 pieces of chicken, fries, and rolls. Crispy Chicken #1 features additional daily specials and also includes mouth-watering short ribs, fried catfish, and chicken fried steak. Locally owned and operated and a Waco tradition since 1975. That's Crispy Chicken #1 at 11th and Clay.
NSJ Event Co., one of the premier event designers in Central Texas and a Centex Sports Network supporter. Voted Waco Awards Event Planner of the Year 2021, NSJ Event Co. is your go-to source for event planning. Whether it's your next baby shower, birthday bash, wedding, or retirement party, NSJ Event Co. will bring out the elegance, class, and style your event deserves. Call NSJ Event Co. at the number on the screen or scan the QR code to schedule a free consultation. NSJ Event Co., where the party lady takes care of all your event needs.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. KWBT-FM, HD2 Waco, Temple, Killeen, Fort Cavazos. The new leader in sports in Central Texas is Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. This is live from the Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports Studios.
That's right, sports fans.
About to show these boys how we do it. You ready?
Tune in to Primetime Sports Talk with Jalen Gillis, your go-to source for breaking sports news in Central Texas and exclusive Dallas Cowboys coverage on the Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into Centex Prime Time. I am your host, Jalen Gillis, getting ready to take you through the primetime topics in sports, not just in the Central Texas area, but from all around the nation. Want to wish everybody happy holidays as we're getting nearer and nearer to the Christmas time, and got to work on getting some more Christmas music in this lineup here, so we're right outside of Christmas time here. I want to thank everybody for tuning in with us on Centex Magic 94.5, also on Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports Radio Central Texas as well. Still joined in studio by Rocky Miller as we just got done wrapping up talking about some La Vega Pirate football, who's in the state championship game this Friday at 11 o'clock. You can listen to that right here on Centex Magic 94.5. Also talked about Baylor and a couple other of these college teams as well. As we get to the last 30 minutes of hour number one, want to talk about Week 14 in the NFL to kind of recap some of the things we saw here in Week 14 as they just wrapped it up last night with two Monday Night Football games, which wasn't much to talk about in either one of those games. The Atlanta Falcons beat the Las Vegas Raiders 15-9, but at this point, I think the La Vega Pirates might have a decent chance at beating the Las Vegas Raiders right now with how they've been playing all season. I seen the signs out that said, let's go get Shador at the Vegas State Raiders Stadium last night. So I think that's probably a really strong possibility because the Raiders are most likely going to have the number one pick, if not the number one pick, somewhere in that top three for sure, because they're not going to win another game the way they've been playing. Disappointed in the Falcons for only putting up 15 points. I mean, also seeing a lot of talk about should Michael Penix be starting to get some burn out there since Kirk Cousins hasn't played well all season, but he's played particularly bad the last 6 weeks now. Now finally throwing for his first touchdown in 5 weeks and about a month and some change last night, and only threw for one touchdown against the worst team in the league. So not too much to talk about there with the Falcons and the Raiders. The other Monday night game, the Minnesota Vikings beat the Chicago Bears 30-12. Chicago just cannot find a rhythm right now at all. Caleb Williams has really struggled in these last 5 or 6 weeks. They started off the season hot. They were 4-2 until they dropped now 8 games in a row, and now sitting at 4-10, lost every single away game they've played so far this year. Took on their division opponent in the Minnesota Vikings, and the Vikings shined like they've been doing all season long. And that's what I wanted to ask you about, Rocky. How are we supposed to judge this Minnesota Vikings team? They're 12-2. They've got a journeyman quarterback in Sam Darnold, who's played for multiple different teams, coming in having a great season this year, but no playoff resume whatsoever, so we have no idea. He's never even been near the playoffs, so we don't know what to expect of him when it comes to playoff time. But right now, they're sitting at 12-2. We're looking at the how the NFC looks right now with the Detroit Lions, who have been playing great right in their division, starting to tail a little bit because of injuries really just hitting them super hard. We're looking at the Green Bay Packers in their division, who's playing good football but still underneath Minnesota. We're looking at the Commanders, who kind of tailed off after a hot start. We're looking at the Niners, who's kind of been the boogeyman of the NFC for the last 3 or 4 years, completely falling off, probably not even going to make the playoffs, might actually finish in last place in their division. So how are we supposed to judge this Minnesota Vikings team looking at them getting closer and closer towards the playoffs?
Well, I think they're a solid playoff team. And with the injuries to Detroit, and we, they lost Montgomery and also their defensive tackle, McNeil. That already, the loss to Montgomery I think that's marginal because that throws Jahmyr Gibbs in full time, and sure whoever his fantasy owners out there in the playoffs, that's a gift. That's a gift. And also the loss of McNeil is already weakens a depleted defense, and you saw Josh Allen was able to put up almost 50 points on them this past weekend. So that makes Minnesota, potentially they could win the division. But when you think about that, you have to think about this. How will Sam Darnold play when he plays against a formidable defense? His team happens to me to be he's played sensational. I don't want to take anything from him. The playoffs are a different beast. He also plays in a controlled environment, right? And so we may not find out who Sam Darnold really is until he's taken outside against a good defense. And in the NFC, if they end up with the better record, that may not happen.
Yeah.
Because Philly's sitting there at 6-2. 12-2,
yeah.
12-2 as well. And even if they win their division, they may end up with the tiebreaker. So what we may not find out until Super Bowl Sunday whether Sam Darnold is that guy that can lead the team to a Super Bowl. Because again, when you look at his weapons and how that Brian Flores' defense is playing, right, you can't say they can't be a Super Bowl contender. Now, what I always look at this time of year is who has the ability to turn their game up a notch in the NFC, and that's who they're going to be playing against. Can Philly turn their game up a notch? I think so. Of course, we think the Rams have another gear they could probably get to. And now that Tampa Bay has already turned it up a notch.
Yeah.
Could they beat Minnesota in a head-to-head matchup? I think this: as long as Sam Darnold stays in that controlled environment up in Minnesota, he can beat any of the teams in the NFC. However, if he's taken outside, when the weather's not so great, and he's playing a formidable defense, who knows what could happen? Because their offense right now is predicated on him getting Addison and Jefferson and all those games involved. And when the weather can get kind of funky in Green Bay. Yeah, it can kind of get funky in Philly. You know what I mean? So
sure.
It may not be ideal circumstances. So that's when we'll find out who Sam Darnold and the Vikings really are. But they are a playoff team. They are still Super Bowl contender, in my opinion. But we'll just have to see who they match up against and how he's able to play when the chips are on the line. That's when we'll find out.
Yeah, because that's really the only thing we don't know. They've answered all those questions we had when they started 6-0 that we had about this team. They've answered pretty much all of them outside of how is Sam Darnold going to perform in a playoff scenario, because he's never been anywhere near a playoff scenario before. A lot of these guys haven't been in real playoff scenarios before. Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones, their running back, has in Green Bay. But, they got a young defense outside of Stephon Gilmore at their corner spot. But they got a young defense. They got a great defensive coordinator in Brian Flores. But most of these people haven't been in this situation. Kevin O'Connell hasn't been in this situation since he was the play caller for the Rams some years ago before he got the job. So Minnesota, like you said, if they're in that controlled environment, I think they got to win their division. Right? They're sitting at the same record as Detroit right now. I think they got to go for it all, and they got to try to win their division to ensure that they can play all of their games in Minnesota. Because outside of that, if they get a wild card spot and maybe their first game is, against a team that can go out there and perform. What if Philly doesn't? What if Detroit gets it? And what if Minnesota ends up having to play a Philly in January? I mean, that's a completely different ball. I don't think they're beating Philly wherever they play at.
So what they typically may end up having to go outside and play.
Mm-hmm.
They may have to go outside and play Philly.
Mm-hmm.
They may have to go outside and play Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody they play in that. I don't think anybody else poses much of a threat. That in the South, when you talk about Atlanta, those guys, none of those guys really pose a serious threat. But again, let me mention this. I think if they have to go to Los Angeles, or
I don't think they want to play Los Angeles.
Or and I'm talking about the Rams.
Yeah.
I don't think the Cardinals will be a big challenge for them.
Nah,
as well.
I don't believe so.
But I think if they end up having to go to Tampa Bay or Philly at any point, it could get ugly. Because again, I want to see him outside against a formidable defense. That's what I really want to see.
Yeah, me too. I want to see this team get tested. Not saying they haven't been tested because they've beaten some good teams this year, but we just got to see what it looks like in that playoffs. And if they match up against the Rams, that was the first team that broke up that streak that they had, that winning streak they had. They went down there on a Thursday night and got beat up on by the Rams, and now the Rams are more healthy even than they were at that point. So the Rams are one of the more scary teams in the NFC. I don't think a lot of people want to play the Rams. Their defense can't guard anybody, but you don't have much of a shot of stopping their offense either. This is a question that I kind of posed yesterday on the show, talking about this MVP race. And right now, I think it's a two-man race between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. I think those are the two front runners for MVP. Both put on a phenomenal performance on Sunday. Josh Allen and the Bills going out there beating Detroit at Detroit. Like me and Wayne predicted on Thursday when we talked about that game, we thought it was just going to be too much Josh Allen, and it was. He threw for 362 yards and 2 touchdowns. He rushed for 68 yards and 2 more touchdowns and put up 48 points on one of the top teams in the league. And then you look at Lamar, even though they're playing the Giants, he has about as good as a performance as you can have if you're going to play against a bad team. This is what you expect to do. You go 21 for 25, 290 yards and 5 touchdowns, no picks, and only sacked a couple times. Then you rush for 65 yards on top of that. I mean, he's got a chance to finish with the highest QB rating of all time for an NFL season by a quarterback. Also, while being one of the top rushers. Also, while having 30-plus touchdowns already and still counting as we end this season. I don't even know how to pick almost at this point between these two guys, Lamar and Josh Allen. Like I said, I'm a fan of Lamar, so I would pick Lamar. But Josh Allen is having a phenomenal season, and the Bills are 11-3, sitting at right there at the top of the AFC. So what's your opinion on this MVP race so far in the NFL?
I think in this last stretch of the season, Josh Allen has kind of separated himself from Lamar. Lamar hadn't necessarily had tough games, but he's dropped some games that I think his team should have won.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. And for that matter, Buffalo has to. But I just think when you think about the totality of what Josh Allen has done, he's been phenomenal from start to finish all year long. And to be honest with you, he doesn't have the full complement of support that
not even
Lamar
close.
has. And so when you think about that, I guess I got to be fair and give the nod to Josh Allen. But, for him, I think for him and Lamar, MVPs aren't their goal.
Yeah.
I think the pressure's on both of those guys to win a Super Bowl. And I think it with the recent developments with the Chiefs, I think it's in play. I don't know how healthy Patrick Mahomes will be when the playoffs start, but considering even when he's healthy, how their offense is playing, I think they're a vulnerable team. They may end up with the number one seed overall, but I think it wouldn't surprise me if either LeVar Ball is Lamar or Josh Allen is able to get the victory over Patrick Mahomes, provided the weather cooperates. Because I think if it gets too cold, I think both those guys are even in a situation where it gets too cold. I think Josh Allen, it could create a situation where because of his defense, if he can't put up 28 to 30 points, I don't think his team can win in the playoffs.
Yeah, because out of those three teams, Kansas City, Buffalo, and Baltimore, I mean, Buffalo's probably got the worst defense out of all those, even though the Ravens' defense hasn't played up to par of what we're used to. They played better through the last few weeks. And Buffalo's defense, we just saw them get 42 put up on them a second ago, and Josh Allen had to be Herculean to be able to win that game. So, like you said, I'll probably give that slight edge to Josh Allen right now. When you think about the lack of weapons that he's playing with, opposed to Lamar, who's got a Derrick Henry, who's got a Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews and all these guys, and a Tyler Linderbaum. I think what Josh Allen is doing right now is phenomenal. And he, like you said, neither one of these guys are playing for MVPs, especially not Lamar, because he's already got two of them. He's got a bigger goal in mind. He had the number one seed. He had the MVP, and they lost to Kansas City last year. So his biggest focus is how can we get wins in this playoff run. Before we go into break, I want to talk about I was going to talk about, the Cowboys and them getting a win on here. And
we got to, man.
What that means, and I want to still talk about that, but I also want to talk about their rival in a sense. If you're looking at rivalries for the past, 20, 30 years outside of their division, in the San Francisco 49ers. This is a team that at the beginning of the year, you were right here on the show, and I posed the question, is this the end of the 49ers run? And at that point, I wasn't sure. But what we've seen so far, and then them going out on Thursday night last week and losing 12-6 against the Los Angeles Rams, I think this might be the end of this run, at least in this current regime of how we see this team currently constructed. I think this might be the end of that run. Now, can they get rid of some guys and keep maybe a Nick Bosa and keep a couple guys and maybe make another run? Sure. But as this current regime stands, I think this is the end of this 49ers run. What's your thoughts?
I honestly think they have one more year in their window, to be honest.
Okay.
If everybody comes back healthy next year and they have Brock Purdy on a rookie deal, I think they have another year in that window. What you can't predict is how one more year is going to affect the performance of their top players. Deebo Samuel. You mentioned Nick Bosa.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know. Even Greenlaw and the other linebacker, I can't think of his name.
Fred Warner.
Mm-hmm. You don't know how that's going to affect them. Of course, like every team, they'll have guys they have to decide whether they're going to re-sign or whether they're going to let them go. And then who they're going to add. Are they going to be able to add any guys? Their big situation right now is what to do with Brock Purdy.
Yes.
And if I'm John Lynch and I'm the GM, Brock Purdy's gonna have to play this last year out. Same way Dak had to play his last year out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and what I won't do is if Purdy has another year like this year, I'd have to let him walk away.
Yeah.
If he and reports are that he's insisting that he's paid $55 million a year.
Man, come on.
And so if that's what he insists on doing, I'm letting him walk away. I think Shanahan likes Brock Purdy. Mm-hmm. I think Brock Purdy runs his offense quite well. But if you don't have a playmaker in every position, how effective has Brock Purdy been without Kittle? How effective has he been without CMC? How effective has he been without Ayuk and Samuel?
Yeah.
Like he's a player that is so dependent on those other pieces to make plays. He's really just a distributor.
Yeah.
I say and we can see what he is by just looking at a guy like a Kirk Cousins. I know people say, oh, he's more athletic than Kirk Cousins.
Barely.
The only difference is Kurt is 35, probably 34.
Yeah, he's 35.
And
with a torn
and Brock
Achilles.
Purdy is 26, 25, 26. Right? So, again, you're not going to get any more out of him as a quarterback. He's a great distributor. Don't confuse him for a playmaker. You know, they use all these crafty terms to describe it. He processes well. Well, without Debo and Brandon Ayuk, all that processing don't matter.
Went out the window.
Yeah. You know, he's great at the line of scrimmage, pre-snap and post-snap. Where's all of that?
Bro.
We all know that if you're about and again, he may be a great locker room guy. And he may be that. But at the end of the day, what is that team without those studs on that offense? They got literally a Pro Bowler at every skill position.
Yeah.
How good do you have to be as a quarterback in that situation or circumstance? From the very first time he got on the field, I believe he was overvalued. I think he was overvalued. I think he's a kind of player that will, quote unquote, run the play that's called.
Yeah.
You know, or get you in the right play. But he will never make the play.
No. They're not going to win a game because of Brock Purdy. He's made plays in those games. Like, I even give him credit in that Detroit game in the NFC Championship. He had to make some throws that were big-time throws. And can he make a big-time throw every now and then? Sure. If like you said, everything else is great. If all his guys are there, they're playing in a dome, you're going against a porous defense in Detroit, sure, he'll make those plays. But when it started getting tight and it got towards that overtime and against Kansas City, even with that full complement of weapons, he wasn't able to make that last play.
And I'll say this, and I'm a Dak guy. I'm a Dak guy. The reality is you can't properly evaluate Dak when you can run for 120 yards and there's no significant pass rush.
Yeah.
In that situation, he looks like freaking Joe Montana.
Yep.
He looks like Roger Staubach. He looks like one of the best quarterbacks to ever live. How you have to evaluate a guy is what is he when there's no running game, when the only option to move the ball is on his arm, and when he's taking significant pressure.
Yeah.
What is he? And for my money, I want a guy like Patrick Mahomes in those situations. And for even to a lesser degree, I want a guy like Lamar or Josh Allen.
For sure.
Somebody who can put the team on their back and give them a chance when a lot of the options have been taken away from.
I think Brock Purdy's got to go on if he gets paid, it's got to be a team-friendly deal, but I don't think he's going to cut the 49ers any type of discount. So you got to cut ties and just wash your hands with the situation and find somebody else, because that's all you've done. All you've done is build up an entire team and go out there with mediocre quarterbacks and win. Why not repeat the process?
So if you're Brock, let me ask you this. If you're Brock Purdy and you get the Baker Mayfield 300-400 extension deal, why wouldn't you take it?
Because you feel like you're worth more, and this might be, at this point, you know, and when you're a player too, you always want to bet on yourself and all that kind of stuff. But at this point, when will his value ever be this high again? So he's like, if I can get $50 million from somebody, I got to go get $50 million from somebody. Now, my thinking would be the Tom Brady approach, and hey, and not comparing him to Tom Brady at all, but just saying, I'll take this 3-for-100 deal over here and stay with this team where I know I'm going to have success, as opposed to the unknown, and I go to the Jets and we go 2-15, and then I never get another shot at another big payday after that again. I would take that 3-for-100 and stay with, or the 3-for-120, whatever it'll be at that point, and stay with the 49ers.
I'm
but
going 3-for-120.
That might be closer and closer to what they're getting to. But I would take that deal for that and stay with the 49ers as opposed to leaving. But I understand him wanting to get his big time payday. The problem is, what is Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch going to do? You've got this far without paying a quarterback. Why start now? I might spin the block on Sam Darnold and say, hey, what you?
Well, see, that's my situation. I'm not going to pay him any more than I would have to pay Sam Darnold for.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I've had Sam Darnold in the building.
Mm-hmm.
I know what I get with Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was playing really at an MVP level if it wasn't for the Superman and superhero play of Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely playing at a MVP clip. But in that situation, you don't know what Sam Darnold is. Again, when you bring him out that dome, and it's a tough defense. But you know what Brock Purdy is, and I think you've seen the ceiling of Brock Purdy.
Yep.
I think you've seen the best of Brock Purdy. I don't think certainly he won't be any better physically. He won't be any better physically than he is now. And if the intangible part of the game is really where he excels, how come he can't make it work when he doesn't have his full complement of receivers and running backs?
He's just not that guy. I mean, it just comes down to that. At the end of the day, they can throw out all the stats and all the adjectives that they like to add in. Like you said, great at the line of scrimmage, a good process and all that. At the end of the day, he's just not that guy. Are you going to pay $60 million for somebody that's not that guy and be the Jaguars, who have probably somewhere close to the same amount of cap spent as the 49ers, and they're in contention for the number one pick with a quarterback they paid $60 million a year? Will you give him a team-friendly deal like a Baker Mayfield, like a Jared Goff, while the Lions were able to build what they've built so far because Jared Goff took that team-friendly deal, or maybe that's just what he was worth at the time, or are you going to go out there and give a guy $60 million that you know for a fact isn't going to be the one to get you over the hump? And that's the decision that John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan
I know we're getting close to break, but when we get back, we got to discuss Shedeur and those signs. At the Raiders game, and talk about what the Raiders should do as far as moving forward. And I also want to discuss those vaunted Dallas Cowboys.
I knew that was coming up. So, folks, stay tuned, stay locked in. We got a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, like he just said, we're going to talk a little bit of Shedeur Sanders to the Raiders potentially. We're going to talk about the Cowboys picking up another win, now 6-8. We're going to talk about Travis Hunter winning the Heisman and all the other things for why he's in the news as well. So stay tuned and stay locked in right here on Centex Primetime. We'll be right back after this short break.
Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. Catch all your in-depth sports analysis with the best. The hottest sports show in the evening is Centex Primetime, hosted by Jalen Gillis.
Act like y'all.
Weekdays 5 to 7. This is the Central Texas #1 leader in sports. Centex Sports Network.
That's right, sports fans. We can talk about sports.
And Infinity Sports.
Lighthouse Streaming, a full-scale media agency and your go-to source for all things audio and video. Is your church long overdue for audio and video upgrades? Call Lighthouse Streaming for a free consultation. Does your corporate or church event need audio or video production? Don't stress. Call the guys at Lighthouse Streaming. In business since 2017, Lighthouse Streaming has produced hundreds of live events and completed dozens of church and venue installations. Whatever your AV needs are, Lighthouse Streaming has you covered. Give them a call at 254-252-4206. That's 254-252-4206. Or go to lighthousestreaming.com and set up your free consultation.
Are you looking for something new and unforgettable in Waco? Come to the Blazing Asian, where authentic Cambodian flavors meet creative culinary flair. Voted People's Choice as Waco's #1 Asian restaurant since 2019 by both the Wacoan Magazine and the Waco Tribune Herald. Located inside the popular Union Hall on 8th and Franklin, we're serving up family recipes with a twist. Blazing Asian egg rolls are rolled fresh daily, and their sauces or marinades are made in-house with love. Stop by today. Located inside the popular Union Hall on 8th and Franklin. And for Baylor students, enjoy 10% off with your student ID.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. Catch all your in-depth sports analysis with the best. The hottest sports show in the evening is Centex Primetime, hosted by Jalen Gillis.
Act like y'all.
Weekdays 5 to 7. This is the Central Texas #1 leader in sports. Centex Sports Network.
That's right, sports fans. We can talk about sports.
and Infinity Sports. Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. KWBT-FM, HD2 Waco, Temple, Killeen, Fort Cavazos. The new leader in sports in Central Texas is Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports.
Holy Jesus. What is that?
It's time to get in the game.
Do you know what time it is?
Tune in to Primetime Sports Talk with Jalen Gillis. Your go-to source for breaking sports news in Central Texas and exclusive Dallas Cowboys coverage.
Come on, start it up. Let's go.
Catch us Monday through Thursday from 5 to 7 p.m. on the Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into Centex Prime Time. I am your host, Jalen Gillis, here in hour number 2 of the show. Want to thank everybody for tuning in with us here today, whether that's on YouTube, Centex Sports Network / Centex Sports TV on YouTube, whether that's on Infinity Sports Radio Central Texas, or whether that's with our new audience on Centex Magic 94.5. Want to wish all you guys happy holidays out there, and thank you for tuning in today to Centex Prime Time as we take you through the primetime topics in sports, not just in the Central Texas area, but from all around the nation. Here in hour number 2. Now, still joined in studio by Rocky Miller as we just got done wrapping up in hour number 1 talking about the La Vega Pirates, who are in the state championship game at 11 o'clock a.m. on Friday right here on Centex Magic 94.5. Also talked about some Week 14 action in the NFL. Talked about the Minnesota Vikings and some of the other teams making some noise right now in the NFL. If you want to go back and watch some of our number 1, as soon as this is over with, you can go right on to YouTube and watch the rebroadcast and or retune into the show right on the YouTube, Centex Sports TV on YouTube. You can go over there and check it out. Here in hour number 2, gonna do some quick takes here as we talk about, like Rocky just alluded to before break, Shedeur Sanders and his potential going to the Raiders. Got to talk about your Dallas Cowboys for all of our listeners on there. We're the flagship station for the Dallas Cowboys in the Central Texas area right here on Centex Magic 94.5. And we also got to talk about this college football playoffs that are coming up as well. So stay tuned and stay locked in, folks. We got a full hour here in hour number 2. First, to start it off, like you just said, last night at the game, Atlanta versus the Raiders, there were signs all across that stadium that said, "We want Shedeur. Shedeur to the Las Vegas Raiders." Now, Deion has already said, my son's not going to play for any team when he decides to come out. Now, I think the Raiders is one of the teams that were probably on that list of teams that he would play for. New stadium in one of the biggest markets in the nation. A chance to grab a completely new fan base because Las Vegas Raiders don't really have that strong of a fan base. A lot of commuters coming into Vegas. A lot of people coming in just to gamble. So they got a chance to really build something there if he goes to Vegas. Rocky, what is your thoughts about the potential of Shedeur Sanders heading to the Las Vegas Raiders?
Hey, I think it's a great fit, man. I think the Las Vegas Raiders needs a marquee star, someone who can compete with all the other entertainment and attractions in the city. The Raiders brand, is a huge brand, but they do need a star. Everybody can benefit from a star, and I think they can too. Now, is it a great fit for Shedeur is what my concern is. Is there the infrastructure there to allow him to be successful? He's also would be going into a division with Patrick Mahomes.
Yes.
That's kind of
Justin Herbert.
And so that would be kind of tough. But, again, I think Shedeur to the Raiders is a good fit from a marketing branding standpoint. But I think there are other fits that could potentially be I'm not going to say better fits. I believe he needs a situation as far as an offensive coach that can benefit him, that develop and grow him. I also don't think the Raiders have, dynamic weapons. They have Brock Bowers, of course, but they don't have,
anything on the outside.
And then I'm not really familiar with what they have in the offensive line.
It's a
but it
decent,
looked decent last night.
It's a decent offensive line.
Yeah.
They got Colton Miller, a couple other big guys that's already got paid on that offensive line.
So again, I think it could be a really good fit. But we'll see. Deion is going to be heavily involved.
Oh yeah.
In the process, he said he wouldn't do it in the media, but he would do it, behind the scenes, and I think he will.
I think he will too.
But if you're the Raiders with the first pick, do you take him or do you take Travis Hunter?
I'm taking Shador. Travis Hunter I think he's the better player because I think he's the best player in this draft. Shador is the biggest star. Yeah, this is Al Davis' son. We're talking about Mark Davis. They're looking for the star here, and like you said, new product out there in Vegas, something to compete with all the other distractions or attractions, however you view them, in Vegas. And Shador Sanders is perfect for that. He's charismatic. He brings all the flair with him. Obviously, he brings all the fan base with him. This is the same guy that, along with his dad, had stadiums packed out at Jackson State, had stadiums packed out at Colorado, got rules changed at Colorado to allow transfer students to come in. Like, he comes from that ilk and from that cloth, and he's also Deion Sanders' son, who might be the biggest star in NFL history. So you're thinking that when you go in there for him. Now, the team tied with the same record for them is the New York Giants. Do we feel the same way about the New York Giants in this situation? They're also another big market. They're in New York City. They just happen to be the Giants. So I'm not sure if Deion will feel the same way he feels about Las Vegas that he would feel about the Giants. Because right now they got the same record, and until somebody wins a game, it's a toss-up for who's going to have the number one pick.
Yeah, man. I don't know, man. I know this. I wouldn't want to go to the Giants I don't want them at the Giants because they're in the division of the Cowboys. And
of course.
I don't want to root against Shador, but I would be forced to. I would. Right? I don't want to root against his downfall, but I would.
I know. You can't help it. It's natural for the Cowboys fan to do that.
But again, with the Giants being a blue blood, being right there in New York,
mm-hmm.
I think that would be a great fit as well. My issue more or less is would the Giants, being a more conservative franchise, right?
Yes, for sure.
Be amenable to the flair and flamboyant personality
mm-hmm.
that is Shador Sanders? And would he have to tone it down or be more reserved in order to satisfy the liking of the Giants and the Giants fans? Because they haven't had a really flamboyant star or anybody like even
since Odell. Really, that's probably the closest to that. But he was a receiver, so his starter can only go so far.
Their quarterbacks have been pretty vanilla.
For the history of the Giants.
I mean vanilla.
I know. I haven't seen one chocolate, as you would say, at quarterback.
Well, they had Geno for a little bit.
Okay, and he played probably a couple quarters. That's it. He
But you're right. They haven't.
Historically, they don't. Coaching, everything. They don't go in that direction as far as hiring a brother, as you would say. I mean, you see Antonio Pierce at the Raiders. He cut his teeth in New York as a New York Giant, and he got his opportunity at the Las Vegas Raiders. They're just not that type of program, and I think Deion definitely knows that as well. So I know all parties are rooting for him to go to Vegas, especially Shador. You're young and turnt. You want to be in Vegas. There's shadow for you to follow in. You don't have to try to replace Eli Manning and have these standards of the good old Giants fans from the past. Vegas is very affluent as far as the crowd and who is there and the different people that are going to be rooting for you. So all parties are definitely rooting for him to go to Vegas. So we'll be keeping our eye on that as we get closer. We're in Week 14, only a few weeks left in the season. So at this point, it is the race for that number one pick. Who can tank the hardest? The Raiders did a pretty good job of that last night, losing 15-9 to the Falcons, who haven't been able to score in like a month. So they're all doing their best tank job at this part of the season.
And with that roughing the passer on Kirk Cousins, The NFL was like, hey, let's get a Falcon some help.
Yeah.
Look like they may be blowing this. And
Mark Davis called in. Hey, come on now. We trying to get that number 1 pick. Y'all want me to keep giving this money I'm giving?
Yeah,
we need that number 1 pick in the hand.
And they called roughing the passer that was.
I don't know what that was. That was pathetic. That was a perfect way to put it. That was a pathetic call.
They probably should have called a pass play right then.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins. Anyway.
But I want to talk about his college teammate since we're talking about Shedeur. And Travis Hunter, who just won the Heisman Trophy. And for some reason, he seems to be in the news for everything besides winning the Heisman Trophy. Also won the Biletnikoff Award. I think he won the Chuck Bednarik Award as well, Defensive Player of the Year. I think he won Most Versatile Player. I forget what that name of that award was. Left home with a lot of trophies, but his other trophy that he carries on his arm seems to be the topic of conversation. And his girlfriend, now fiance, people were getting on him because did you see she didn't stand up? Deion had to tell her to stand up when he did the thing, and then everybody seen after the game when she was kind of giving them an attitude, I guess you would say, after they just won their last home game of the season, and just a whole lot of drama that seems to be surrounding him now. He's going into this already saying, hey, this is going to be my wife. I think he said even Shedeur looked shocked when he told him they got a date for the wedding already. Shedeur was kind of like, oh, okay, y'all got a date for the wedding. He was like, yeah, it's the week after rookie minicamp, which is going to be the week after those rookie deals get finalized, which I just thought was crazy as far as timing-wise. But there's been a lot of controversy around their relationship as of the last couple of weeks. She even went online, I think last night, and had a whole spiel about addressing all the different things and why she didn't stand up right away and why she seemed to be upset after the game that one time. Really, I guess trying to clear up her name there. But what was your thoughts on this whole razzle-dazzle so far with this stuff?
Well, so, again, I think this is a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
of a young man who is wildly successful in whatever field. His happened to be football.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to bring his girl on as part of that integral part of that success and fame, for that matter. Mm-hmm. He brings her out along with him in the forefront. And when it's clear that you're going to be part of his fame, right, then you get the scrutiny that goes along with it. Whereas he's going to be evaluated as a football player, you're going to be evaluated as a girlfriend.
Yep. That's just how it goes.
You know what I mean? And so as a football player, he's electric. He's exciting. He's amazing. He's incredible. And let's just say that as a girlfriend, she's leaving things to be desired.
Yep.
Going all the way back to a couple weeks ago on his final game at Colorado where she didn't want to give him any sugar.
Yeah.
Because now these are reports that she didn't appreciate him doing a celebration dance with the cheerleader.
Come on, man.
Now I don't know that to be true. She didn't address that in the.
No, she did not. She did not address that
in her video. Again, these are young people.
Yeah.
Jalen, and I think sometimes young people don't understand the ramifications of their actions, and this is why. Going back to Travis. Travis, he's famous. His girlfriend is part of it. Comfortable with everything. He probably said, "Baby, you can come along. You're going to be represented as part of this process too."
Mm-hmm.
He didn't realize how it would affect her and how she would be viewed by other people. He happens to catch all the passes, make all the interceptions, make all the tackles as a football player, and that's how he's evaluated. He didn't realize that she was going to be evaluated as his partner and how she supports, loves, cares about him, how she reacts to the public, this, that, and the other. And in that situation, in the public, she may be doing great behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
But it's when she is out in public is when she's going to be evaluated. And she's had some less than stellar moments.
Yeah.
Now, does that give people reason to, is it fair to her? Because the majority of your relationship is not on camera. The majority of your relationship is just you two together. However, when you are in public, you got to be keenly aware that there are always eyes on you and there's always cameras on you. And you cannot have a moment, you know, you cannot let your guard down.
Yeah.
And I think of a few times, whether it was when he wanted a kiss and she was upset, or when it's on TikTok and she says, I wasn't attracted, or he wasn't my type, you know what I mean, at first. And then when you don't stand up and don't look over enthusiastic, you know, she almost has to have the cheerleader kind of attitude when she's out in public with Travis, because that's what people are expecting her to be, supportive, cheering her on, and be very tolerant of the fans as well. Because any dissatisfaction with his fame will come over to the fans as her being ungrateful.
Yep.
Because he could have any woman on his arm.
Yeah.
And you are the lucky one. And you should be grateful that he's even with you. That may not be how Travis sees it, but that's how the public is
that's how the public
going to see it. But I was glad to see. Now, this is where I think the PR team kind of worked to her favor and helped her out, is that, hey, you're going to have to come on, explain the situations, and come across as a human.
Yeah. Yep.
And her letting her know that she has human moments. She's living a human experience. She didn't plan to be this famous person with this famous boyfriend. She's just like Travis, being a young boy, and she loves him for him, and he's the best thing since sliced bread, and she'll try to do better, and so on and so forth. That's all she can do.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, she didn't expect for all this to happen, and neither did Travis expect for all this to happen. But like you said, the camera is always on, especially you're dating the number one. He's going to be the number one pick in the draft. If Shedeur doesn't become the number one pick in the draft, which he's going to be right there in the limelight for that too, because he's going to be congratulating him as he goes up. So, I mean, the cameras are always on you. You have to be aware of that. And honestly, they're kids, man. They're going to make mistakes, and they're going to say the wrong things and do the wrong things. But the internet is permanent. So just be careful what you decide to address and not address going onto the internet.
And some things just have to wait till you get to the hotel room,
yeah,
or your apartment or your house or whatever.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, if you address it out in public, if you're famous, it will be part of the news story. It will be part of the news cycle. It's unfortunate that this situation kind of, in popular culture anyway, not necessarily as a sports story, but in popular culture, it overshadowed all the amazing things that he accomplished this past weekend. Shout out to Travis Hunter and Leanna, because I think they had a great weekend. He cleaned up on getting awards and stuff like that. And so I, as a young couple, and my wife has texted me, I don't know what she's saying. She said Nia and I have to put up with that all the time. I don't know what the heck she's talking about. But Nia may have to put up with it, but she certainly does.
No, definitely. And like you said, shout out to them, man, because Travis definitely did his thing out there on the field. And only advice I could give to the Lena girl is, man, hook up with the OGs. Go find Savannah James and then figure out what did they do and don't do in the public eye.
So and to that point, you really, as much as a wife and a girlfriend, whatever, you have your own life, you have your own fan base. You may even have desire to be famous, whatever.
Yeah.
If you're gonna take on that persona, just be prepared for the smoke. You understand what I'm saying? You have to be prepared for the smoke. You can't expect to be out front and then not be scrutinized. I think Travis, and that's football as athletes, I think scrutiny is part of the culture of the sport, meaning that if you drop a pass, you miss an assignment, whatever, your coaches, everybody around is going to scrutinize you. You're going to be graded on your performance, this, that, and the other. How many times do you grade Nia on her performance as a wife?
Exactly.
I hope your answer is never.
Never. Not one time for everybody listening, because she related to half of Waco. So if everybody listening that's going to report, I've never done that.
No, and so they're not accustomed to that same scrutiny.
Exactly, yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's what I'm saying. And when they get that scrutiny, they take it very personal, like Leanna did. And so she was able to get out in front of it, face it heads up, and I think moving forward, she has learned her lesson.
Yeah, they'll both grow from this situation. So she's got to hook up with some of the OGs and figure out what to do there.
Travis did what I considered he violated one of the tenets of PR is he tried to get in front of it and admonish the public for attacking his girl. That only makes things worse.
That's never going to work, bro. You're never going to beat the internet up. You're not going to get out there and bully the internet and to stop doing something. You're only going to make it worse. So the only thing y'all can do is just learn from the situation and try to keep things close to the vest, man. We don't, the top guys, we don't hear a lot about their relationships and stuff for a reason, because that's a lot for both parties to deal with.
We don't know who Cam Moore's girlfriend is, or
exactly.
Gabriel's girlfriend.
Exactly.
Or if Shador or Shiloh, who their girlfriend is. When you bring your girlfriend from the shadows, man, you got to be ready for the smoke, bro.
It's free game at that point. And the internet is unforgiving. You know what they're going to do. So, hey, for the girlfriend, link up with the OGs, figure out how to move around, what to do in there. For Travis, don't take any relationship advice from Dion, and you'll be all right after that.
Man, that was a shot, man. That was a shot.
Shout out Dion to Travis and there, man. But, yeah, they've been in the news cycles for some of the wrong reasons, but it should be for Travis going out there and performing at a phenomenal level. Tonight, folks, the NBA Cup is tonight, and we want to talk about that too, as well as the Bucks and Thunder are getting ready to play each other, I think, in about an hour. Before we go to that, I want to do some slight HBCU news, as we have Rocky Miller here, who's an HBCU expert. And Michael Vick just announced that he is going to become the head coach of Norfolk State and over Sacramento State, who was offering him allegedly, because that's all the publicity that I saw, that Sacramento State was trying to swoop in and steal him away. But he goes with Norfolk State, goes back to his old stumping grounds in that DMV area, and is going to get a chance to be another big-time sports icon in the black community that is going to get a chance to take on the challenge of coaching these young kids at HBCU school. Rocky, you're the expert here. What's your thoughts on this?
I think this is a sensational hire. I think this raises the profile of Norfolk State and all HBCUs. They don't play Norfolk State, for you don't know, they don't play in the SWAC. They play in the conference called the MEAC Conference, the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. They most of their teams are on the Eastern Seaboard. They have Morgan State, they have Delaware State, they have Norfolk, North Carolina Central, and South Carolina State. All those schools play one another. It's only 6 schools in their conference, so it raises the profile of that conference and Norfolk State. It's actually not in the DMV. It's in the Tidewater area. That's what they call it. To us, it's all the DMV. But it's actually in that Tidewater area. And in the Tidewater area, I think it's Richmond, Virginia, and Richmond, Norfolk State, and Virginia Beach. Okay. And so that's kind of that area. They call it the Tidewater area. I have no idea. Hampton Roads, and there's some sensational guys that are from that area. Oh, yeah. You remember Bruce Smith, who's a Hall of Famer. Of course, you know Allen Iverson. Yeah. And then the historic prospect who was Ronald Curry. Yes. I don't know if you remember Ronald Curry, but he was like the top All-American in football and basketball. Yeah. So they have a sensational history of having amazing athletes. And when Virginia Tech had it rolling, they had a pipeline from the Tidewater area to Virginia Tech. So, again, I expect Michael Vick to do a great job recruiting in that area, grow the brand of Norfolk State. And and again, with him being a Nike ambassador, I expect them to become somewhat similar to the Oregon of the East. By showing off uniforms and bringing back that Vic paraphernalia and having that green, that Kelly Green 7. Again, their colors are like Baylor, Kelly Green and gold. And so I suspect that'll be a sensational rollout by Nike. And again, more importantly, HBCUs have always been in a situation where they have not received the support they deserve from the state and the nation. And this story is a way for them to potentially receive the support and resources that they truly deserve. And I appreciate a guy like Mike Vick lending his name, his brand, his iconic status to HBCUs, especially in a situation where he was being offered probably a more lucrative contract by Sacramento State. He chose to go back home and coach in his hometown, in his home area, which is Norfolk State.
Yeah, I mean, it's super exciting to be able to see because we saw how Deion Sanders was able to change that landscape when he was at Jackson State, and shout out to Jackson State just winning that Celebration Bowl 28-7 over South Carolina State. But we saw what Deion was able to do when he was at South Carolina State and how he was able to flip the number one player in the country to we were just talking about, Travis Hunter, and coming to Jackson State. Will Michael Vick be able to do that? I wouldn't be shocked about him being able to do that at all. If you're in my age group or maybe a little bit younger or somewhere in a little bit older than that, Michael Vick is the Deion Sanders in our age group. He was the biggest icon. Him and Allen Iverson, who both came from that same era, were the biggest sports icons in my era. So, I mean, who wouldn't want to go play for Michael Vick? And especially being in that area that's so rich with talent. Like you said, that was a pipeline for years of getting guys out of that area. And I'm sure there's still a lot of talent within that area. Now you've got a chance to stay at home, to play for the new hot thing, which is going to be Norfolk State because of Michael Vick going there. So all in all, just an amazing thing seeing him go there and getting a chance to keep our top icons at our schools, at these HBCUs, because that's what's important. When you look at A.J. DeBanster, who's the number one player in college basketball or high school basketball, going to a BYU and out there, it's important that we can keep some of our top kids going to our schools to be able to support our own schools. So, I mean, I think Michael Vick going to Norfolk State is just the start of that. And all the other coaches that are doing an amazing job at these HBCUs as well are going to continue.
Now, I'm sure we're going to have a huge debate later on tonight on HBCU Coaches Corner, and it will air on Centex Sports HD2 94.5 HD2. We're going to have a spirited conversation. I have the featured host, which is Johnny Cole, a HBCU coaching legend, along with my co-host, Stephen Campbell, and then myself. Again, we're going to have this debate. There is a lot of, you would think there would be a consensus that Vic is what's best for the school.
Yeah.
There's some talk amongst the HBCU loyalists that because he doesn't have a degree, he shouldn't be given the opportunity. Because he doesn't have a degree, he doesn't hold up to the standards that what college athletics is all about. I believe that, me personally, I believe his value is much greater than any degree coach out there. Again, but Coach Johnny Cole has some interesting perspectives about that, being that he's a coach, he's a practitioner. He's someone who's been in coaching, especially at the HBCU level, a number of years. He has a certain perspective that necessarily I don't share, but I do respect and understand.
For sure.
Because what he says is celebrities get into the business, and now these men who have been coaching for 30 years don't get the opportunity that they deserve. And and my point is that why not give those guys a try? Because some of those coaches that you hire are losers as well. Why not give a guy Mike Vick, who may come in and raise the profile of your program, add some infrastructure into your program, whether it be a weight room, facilities, whatever. And then even if he's a failure as a coach, when he leaves, all the raising of the profile of the brand, all those facility upgrades are still in place. He can't take, if he improves the weight room, if he improves the facilities, he can't take that with him. Those things stay there for the kids that will play there in years to come. So those are the things I'm saying. Why just hire a guy because he's always coached HBCU football if he doesn't bring value to the actual school, especially if he's going to go there and lose?
Yeah. And like you said, Michael Vick's brand supersedes a lot of these coaches that have the degree and that have this pedigree within HBCU coaching and within HBCU culture. My thing is, if you do what you've always done, you're gonna get what you've always got.
And like always, I'll say this. If Dion had came in a SWAC, and those other coaches thoroughly outcoached him to the point where he was a miserable failure, you wouldn't have to worry about Mike Vick coming in and coaching. But the fact that he came in and in less than a year won two SWAC championships, and then was able to move on to Colorado and now be successful in Colorado, goes to show you that sometimes you don't have to take the traditional route in order for you to be successful. And who's to say that after giving Mike Vick a chance after a couple years and him being successful, I would love to see him at a Virginia Tech.
Man, I was just about to say that.
Or some other opportunity where he could showcase his skills, especially in the place where we all know in college football, big-time college football in particular, there's a lack of black representation at the head coaching position.
For sure.
And whatever it takes for us to get out those opportunities, for us to have representation in those positions, I'm all for it because it's pretty soon. You're going to run out of icons. You're going to run out of transformational athletes, and you may end up just having to end up hiring a great ball coach, and you won't have to be the best of the best in order to get an opportunity. You may just have to be just a good coach, and that's what it should be. Exactly. But we all know those opportunities are not happening. And so if Deion, whether it's Mike Vick, whomever, can get in there and inspire a little change, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I'm 100% all for it. And sometimes the change is what needs to happen. And seeing him go there, and like you said, seeing the success Deion had at Jackson State in his 2 years there, what they were able to accomplish, getting 2 SWAC championships, and then seeing Jackson State continue success after he leaves. Like you said, those improvements to those facilities, all that stuff stays after they go. And you see Jackson State still thriving. Would it be a bad thing for Michael Vick to come in at Norfolk State and maybe win, make improvements, and then upgrade and leave because somebody else gets to inherit the things that he put into those programs as well? So I'm excited to see that. And like Rocky said, you'll be able to hear this conversation way more in depth on HBCU Coaches Corner tonight, 8 o'clock. Tell them where they can watch that show at, Rocky.
Yeah, you can catch it on YouTube. You go on the Rocky Miller channel. You also can catch it on Centex Sports as well. And you can catch it on the radio at 94.5 HD2 Centex Sports 1.
So make sure you guys getting ready for that. That is at 8 o'clock. Folks, we're in the final stretch of our show here. I want to talk some college football playoff matchups. Before I do that, I want to talk about the NBA Cup that is tonight at 7:30. NBA is trying this new thing where they're putting the cup play and trying to incentivize these guys to play some more meaningful games. And I like it. I think it has incentivized guys to play in more meaningful games. You're getting I had my friend that played at the University of North Texas call in with me last week, Greg White Pittman, who's a point guard there at UNT. He said that we're getting playoff-style basketball in December, which we've never gotten before in the NBA, and I do agree with that. Now the Cup final is tonight. I'm mad that my Rockets lost in the semifinals, but this OKC team is phenomenal. They're sitting at number 1 in the West right now. One of my favorite teams to watch. I think they have a very strong chance of going to the NBA Finals this year. And right now they're in the NBA Cup Finals taking on a Milwaukee team that started off porous and now has won 12 out of the last 15 games, I believe. Giannis playing at a phenomenal superstar MVP-type level. Damian Lillard averaging about 26 points a game as well. That game's at 7:30. Rocky, what's your thoughts about this Milwaukee and OKC game tonight?
Hey, man, I think it's a good game. And the fact that it's not a 7-game series, I think Doc Rivers has a chance to win.
It couldn't. Wise words have never been spoken more because I could not agree any more than that. Would it be in a 1-game series? Doc Rivers got a shot. If this was 7 games, all the money I bet the house on OKC because Doc Rivers is showing you he's not going to win that. But I like this matchup between an OKC team who's the number 1 defensive team in the NBA taking on Giannis, who's just an unstoppable force. I was watching him when they played the Hawks. When he gets downhill and when he's moving towards the cup, there's absolutely nothing anybody in the league can do. And I'm interested to see how he matches up against this OKC team, who right now has more steals than they have turnovers at 25 games into the season, which I think is the first time that's happened in the NBA so far. So, yeah.
No, like I said, I think this is a good game. I like the format. The format's fun. Mm-hmm. I think the playoff intensity is for that 500.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's for. Like you just talked about in college football, that needs to happen. But that's exactly what it's for.
That 500 in the middle of the season. Because guess what? In the NBA, the rookie minimum, I think, is right short of $1 million. Mm-hmm. Right? A guy can get half his salary
In one night's work.
In one night's work, baby. And just think about this. Even a guy who has plenty of money, that $500 that he wins, he would have to play the game anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets $500, and he can help him with those taxes.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. It's the end of the year. It is the end of the year. That $500 could go right to paying some of that tax money that you're going to have to pay back. They're all getting charged the jock tax. They're all getting charged state tax, all of these different things. So that definitely helps and incentivize it. But I'm thinking this is going to be a good game tonight, Milwaukee and OKC. Like I said, OKC, number one defensive team in the league, and MVP candidate who I think should be number one for MVP candidate right now, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, going against a former MVP, former champion, in Giannis. So that game is at 7:30 tonight on ABC. They're playing in Vegas. Hopefully they don't get their earnings tonight after they win, and they give them a couple days in between to give them their money, because somebody's money might be gone tonight after winning that game. But am excited to watch this game. NBA Cup championship game, that's at 7:30. Milwaukee Bucks taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Well, folks, we got about 20 minutes left here in the show. Want to talk about these matchups in college football, the playoff bracket that has been set. We've talked about it all year long. The moment is finally here. The games start on Friday, 7 o'clock. After you watch La Vega compete in that state championship game, you can go home and get a chance to watch Notre Dame and Indiana as they start off the college football playoff matchup. So want to go at this by a game-by-game basis thing here, Rocky, and I want to start with the first game in Indiana, Notre Dame. We kind of teased it a little bit last week talking about it, but looking more in depth into this now, seeing this Indiana team matched up against the Notre Dame team, an Indiana team who you said on the show hasn't played anybody, Notre Dame team that hasn't played that great of a schedule either, and these two teams are matching up against each other, playing in the first game, both 11-1 records. Right now, Notre Dame, a 7-point favorite in this game. They're playing in South Bend, Indiana, at Notre Dame's campus, so it's going to be a home game for Notre Dame. Do you think they cover in the points at this -7, and who do you got winning this game?
Well, I got Notre Dame winning this game, but the movement on the line has got me kind of nervous. I'm looking at the Action Network, and I want to look at NCAA college football for a second, and let me go down to these games, because for those of you guys who do bet, you can look at Action Network and it'll tell you, kind of how the money's moving, and 65% of the bets in this, or 55% of the bets are on Indiana, and so that kind of, well,
going to shift
we'll
the
say
line.
55% of the money is on Indiana.
Yeah.
And again, so what I think they're trying to encourage more people to take Notre Dame. I've seen this kind of stuff move, and whenever that happens, I get kind of nervous. But on this particular deal, I still would take Notre Dame, and the best odds you can get is -7.5, and I still take Notre Dame on that. And I also probably would take them on the money line as well. That doesn't seem like a bad bet as well. So I take them on the money line, and I may even parlay that money line, take Notre Dame, and we'll go to another and take one of these other games as well.
Yeah, I think Notre Dame has a good chance of winning this one. They're at home as well. But, man, I just got a feeling that Indiana's got a chance in this game. So this will be a game that I would stay away from. If I did bet on it, I would bet the money line on Notre Dame and not the 7 points, just because you don't know what happens. I don't have a lot of trust in Riley Leonard, the quarterback of Notre Dame. I do have trust in some of their weapons like a Jeremiah Love and some of the other guys. I think their defense has played pretty decent this year as well. But Indiana hasn't played in any big games, so there's no reason to have high hopes on what their quarterback can do as well. I think Burke is their quarterback. There's no reason to have a lot of high hopes on what his play can do as well. I think that's why this is the first game, is that even the college football people, they didn't really know where this one could go. Right now, like you said, most of the money going towards Indiana, but Notre Dame is favored for a reason, and they're playing at home in this game too. So
the other deal on this is, is that I kind of don't understand the over-under. The over-under is 51. That seems like that's a lot of points.
That's what I was thinking. That's why I didn't even go. That's usually my go-to is let me just go look at the points and over-under. But
they must expect really favorable weather in South Bend if they've got that many points. But
because I'm thinking like a 17-13 type of game, 20-13 type of game.
So the higher the score, I think the more it benefits Notre Dame. Because I think Notre Dame has a better defense. Mm-hmm. And I think Notre Dame, has the more potent offense. But, I just don't think Indiana poses much of a threat to the Notre Dame defense. So, yeah, I probably take that 51. That's my primary bet. I may take the under 51 as well on that game as well. So we can go on to the next one. I just thought that jumped out to me when I saw the under 51.
Yeah, I like the under 51 too. I'm thinking this is a 20-13 type of game, 20-10 type of game.
20-10 is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, whichever way you decide to swing that, either team that wins this, I don't see them scoring 30 points in this game. So I like the under if you are going to pick something in that one. The next game, early morning game, SMU versus Penn State. This is going to be a really fun game to watch. SMU, probably the fastest team in the nation, similar to, like you said last week, Rocky, similar to those old Baylor teams or similar to some of those old Oregon teams. Really fast team. Kevin Jennings, their quarterback, can run the show pretty fast. The Nittany Lions, Penn State, they run kind of old school type of offense. They play a lot through their tight end. The tight end gets a lot of touches. Tyler Warren, probably going to be the top tight end picked in the draft, this coming up draft. They've got a stable of backs with Katron Allen in there, with Nick Singleton in there. So this is going to be – I like SMU in this game if depending on what the weather is. We're getting closer and closer to it. If the weather is going to be porous, it's going to be cold and rainy, like Pennsylvania weather is in this time of year, I like Penn State in this game. Right now, they got Penn State at 8.5-point favorite. I think that's kind of a lot. I like SMU and what their offense can bring to the table. But if Penn State is able to just run the ball, like I said, Datron Allen, Nick Singleton, two of the better backs in the nation, they're able to just run the ball and keep the ball outside of SMU's hands and win time of possession. I like Penn State in this game. They're playing at home. It's probably going to be cold weather out there. So I'll have to go with Penn State if I have to pick in this one because I think they can control the ball. I think they can run the ball.
You're going to get it -8?
See, the 8.5-point kind of scares me because I just watched this SMU team come back from down 20, even though it is a Clemson team. I just watched them come back from down 20 in that game. I think SMU has the potential to make this close because they can score quick. They can get up on you quick in this game. I would lean more towards taking it on a money line with Penn State because of what I just said, because of their quick attack with SMU. And I think if Penn State wins time of possession, they'll be able to come out with a win in this game.
Well, in this game, I like SMU.
Okay.
I like SMU in this game, but I'm looking at the public. The public has SMU, and they're taking SMU +8. Man, I hate to bet with the public.
Yeah, me too. I'm the exact same way. I hate
to bet with the public.
I try to go the opposite.
Yeah, well, fading the public, you'll win most of the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just the reality.
Mm-hmm.
And SMU did get down pretty early against Penn State. So, again, I think the smart money on this is Penn State money line. I'll take Penn State money line and also take Notre Dame money line. And I may add one more team as we move on.
Yeah, I like both of those. I like Penn State money line. I like Notre Dame money line for both of their games as well, too. The third game be the afternoon game, the game that I know all of you guys will be watching, and that's Texas versus Clemson as they play at 3 o'clock on Saturday. If you're not watching the state championship game, or if you want to get a break from watching that North Crowley versus Westlake game, you can look over at Texas State and Clemson with the former Westlake quarterback and Cade Klubnik taking on the former South Lake Carroll quarterback and Quinn Ewers. I like Texas for just about everything on this one. I think they're going to win pretty handily over Clemson, in my opinion. They're minus 12. I mean, that's steep. I've seen this line get further and further away as the time has gone on. That's a steep line, but I honestly think Texas has the potential to cover in that one. That wouldn't be the first bet for me to go to, is that minus 12. Started at 10.5. I liked it better at that minus 10.5 than I do minus 12. But I see Texas winning this game and winning it pretty handily in this one against Clemson. They're playing at home against the Clemson team that just struggles to score. Texas got one of the top defenses in the nation, especially their DB room is one of the top in the nation. And Clemson only real weapon on the offensive end outside of Cade Klubnik is Brian Wesco, who's a 160-pound freshman receiver. I don't see him getting much action against this Texas team. So I think Texas takes care of business in this game and wins this one pretty easily.
All right, I'm going to take Texas on this one as well. I may not add this to my parlay because of the odds. They're not offering much on the money line, so yeah. I'll have to move on to the next bet on this one. But I'm with you. I'll take Texas, and I see them at Texas and the 12 points.
Yeah, I like Texas all around on this matchup. Just overpowered. Clemson was the last team to get into the playoffs. Texas has been a top 5 team pretty much all year long. It's one of the better teams in the nation. I think Texas, Georgia, and Oregon are the 3 best teams in the nation, in my opinion. So I like Texas being able to take care of business in this game. The last close game, probably the closest game of the night, Tennessee versus Ohio State. They're playing in Ohio. You know weather is going to be a factor in this game. Tennessee with the freshman quarterback playing on the road at one of the biggest stadiums in the nation. Ohio State, I seen one of the guys in Tennessee come out and say, hey, nothing's louder than the SEC, so I'm not worried about playing in Ohio State. But I would have to beg to differ. Ohio State is one of the biggest stadiums, 110,000 people going to be in there screaming at you. I think that's going to be a little bit different. I like Ohio State in this game. I think Ryan Day is coaching for his coaching life right now. I think he's coaching to keep his job, actually, because after losing to Michigan, he's on a super hot seat, and I think he's got to go out here and take care of business against this Tennessee team. So I like Ohio State. I even like them at the minus 7.5 on this one. They don't have a high point total. That's probably because both of these teams have a good defense. Ohio State's defense is good. Got some of the best DBs in the nation with Denzel Burke and Caleb Downs. And then Tennessee's got one of the best front sevens in the nation as well. So this is going to be they saved it as a night game because it's probably going to be the best matchup of the entire weekend with Tennessee versus Ohio State. I like Ohio State, though, in this game.
Yeah, I like Ohio State, too, and I'll take them on the money line. And I'll add that to my parlay with taking Notre Dame and Penn State as well. Now, let me ask you this, because this is an interesting. There are 4 games. I look at this as the first round of the NFL playoffs, and this is what usually happens. The favorites usually win 75% of the time, and there's usually one upset that happens in that first round of 4 games in the playoff. If you had to pick an upset in the first 4 rounds, in the first 4 games, who would you say gets the upset?
SMU. I'll take SMU if I got to pick somebody to do the upset because I haven't been a fan of Penn State all year long like that. I think they got a bigger offensive line, and I think they got 2 really good backs where they can control it. But I can see SMU winning that game because Penn State hasn't done anything to wow me all year long. Honestly, they played in 2 big games. They lost both of them. So I like if I had to pick an upset, I like SMU. Outside of that, I would lean towards Indiana. I don't know how much of an upset that necessarily would be because both of those teams are kind of ranked around the same. But I don't see Clemson getting Texas in any scenario. And Tennessee and Ohio State is kind of evenly matched. So if Tennessee won, I don't think that would be much of an upset. So I like SMU if I had to pick an upset out of one of these games on the college football slate.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. I agree with you, but I'm gonna go here. If I gotta pick an upset, I'm gonna pick Tennessee over Ohio State.
Okay, I'm not mad at that.
Because in that situation, right? What you have to do is I pick the best team of the 4 underdogs?
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? And of the 4 underdogs, who do you think is the best team?
Clearly Tennessee.
Yeah.
Clearly
And
Tennessee.
so that's what I did. I just picked the best team of the 4 underdogs. Now, again, Ohio State's one heck of a matchup.
Yeah.
So true. They're no Penn State. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they have players at every level.
Every level.
The other wild card in this game, and I think we can't overlook this. In big games so far, Will Howard hasn't been what you would hoped he would be.
Not even a little bit.
But, you know, and then I say, and I look at this, and if Tennessee can't control Henderson, force Will Howard to put the game on his shoulders, I'm going to be honest with you. I think the quarter, I'm not going to try to mention his name.
Yeah, I just say Nico.
I think he's the better quarterback in the matchup.
Oh, yeah, he is. He definitely is.
So there's some things going on for Tennessee. But being at home matters.
It does matter.
Being at the shoe matters. Even though they just lost the game at the shoe.
They did.
But you know, that would seal Ryan Day's fate, in my opinion.
Yeah, it would.
I think they probably would fire him. I don't think he should be fired, but I think if he loses the first round,
he's out of there
against Tennessee.
He's out of there.
They're going to be looking elsewhere.
He's on the first thing smoking back. Where I don't even know where Ryan Day's from. Wherever he's from, he's on the first thing smoking back to there. Because if he loses this game to Tennessee, Ryan Day is over with. You lose to Michigan all of these years since you took over for Urban Meyer. Then you backdoor and lose to Michigan when they sorry. Oh, no, you out of there. He'd be out of there. We got a couple minutes left. I want to ask you this. Who is the teams you think could end up being the Final Four? Now, we don't even know who's going to win in this first matchup here. There's 4 teams that got to buy: Oregon, Georgia, Boise State, and Arizona State. Who do you think can end up being in this Final Four? Right now, I like Oregon coming out of whoever wins out of that Tennessee. They'll play the winner of the Tennessee-Ohio State game. I like Oregon beating either one of those teams, so I think Oregon will be in there. I like Texas to be in that Final Four because I think Texas is going to beat Clemson, and I think Texas is going to beat Arizona State. So I like Texas in that to move on to that Final Four. I think Boise State is losing to whoever comes out of SMU and Penn State. I think either one of those teams will smack Boise State. So I think whoever wins out of that right now, I got Penn State beating SMU, so I'll say Penn State getting into that Final Four, even though I don't think they're a top 4 team in the nation. I just think they got favorable matchups. And then Georgia. I think Georgia's going to beat whoever wins out of Indiana and Notre Dame. So in my Final Four, I like Penn State, Georgia, and I like Oregon versus Texas. Who do you think can be those Final Four teams, even though we still haven't even played the first round of the college football playoffs?
I hate to agree with you every time.
Yeah.
But I guess we see the game a lot. Yeah. I think Oregon and Texas are the final. But let me ask you this. And I'm gonna put the question like this, because I always think, just like in the NBA, you kind of play your way into position. So the league has really no say in how they line up, and the NFL, kind of the same way. But in the college football playoffs, since it's voted on, I think they get to, I hate to say manipulate.
That's what it is.
But they get to create matchups, right? And they're hoping for an outcome based on how they set it up. They do that in the NCAA tournament by putting, like, maybe you know, like Kansas and Duke never ends up on the same side of the bracket.
Nope.
And you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So anyway, looking at the bracket, what matchup do they want in the final game?
They want Texas, and it looks like they want Texas and Georgia or Oregon and Georgia.
So you don't think they want Texas and Ohio State? That's what I think they want.
I can see, but they would meet. They would meet in the Cotton Bowl if they did, which would just be, I mean,
so that's the semifinal game.
Yeah, that'd be the semifinal game.
Okay.
Which could still happen. which it could be Texas versus Ohio State at the Cotton Bowl, which is an ultra home game for Texas after they already get a home game to start this one out. I do agree with seeing that.
Because I think the other – so when I look at the bracket, it seems like – trust me on this one. It seems like the first round games potentially look better than the second round game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
On some of them, yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? So anyway, I just was wondering, what do you think? So that's on one side of the bracket. So, but what do you think they want? Of the 4 teams on either side of the bracket, what do you think the matchup they want? If the NCAA could call it right now, which 2 teams would they want in the final game?
In the national championship, I think they want to see Oregon and Georgia, because Oregon and the fan base, obviously, I think they would love to see Oregon in there, all their deals with Nike, all the championship Nike T-shirts they'd be able to make. I think they want to see Oregon in that final one, and I think they want to see Georgia. They would, I mean, whatever the top SEC team is, they want that in the championship game because they have the biggest brand, in my opinion, as far as their fanfare and the support they're going to get. And the SEC is going to deliver on the product that they put out. Outside of that, I think they want Texas in any way they can get Texas in to that final game.
I disagree.
Okay.
I'm going to say what they really want, if they could choose. They want Notre Dame and Texas, or Notre Dame and Ohio State.
They would love to have Notre Dame. I just don't see Notre Dame winning any games, but they would love to have Notre Dame win everything, to have them match up against Notre Dame and Texas would break the scare.
Think about it. Think about this. If Notre Dame wins, which Indiana is a winnable game, and it's somehow, and you can say what you want to, right? Georgia's going to be tough for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at matchups, Notre Dame is a pretty tough matchup for Georgia.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know what I mean? And and so, in my opinion, is like you say, if they get if Georgia goes on, I think they can lose. But the one game where they know that each team is vulnerable is in that Capital One Orange Bowl game, and they mess around and get Boise, and they want somebody who can wipe up Boise.
Yeah, I mean, clean them up.
You know what I mean? They don't want to. They don't want nothing to do with Boise.
Nothing
in that championship game.
They don't. They wanted to seem fair, and we're going to put a smaller school, a group of 5 school in this spot and give them a chance, but they don't want Boise in that national title game. And I agree. Once you said Notre Dame, I agree 100%. They want Notre Dame in that national championship game for sure. And hopefully we don't see any of that affect the reffing.
And they hedge their bets by putting them in there with Georgia.
Yep.
Certainly they didn't want Notre Dame knocking out of Texas or an Ohio State.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
I kind of look at that. And of course, Oregon is always, Oregon is not, in my opinion, it's a great brand. I don't think it's not a great TV product.
Yeah, I agree.
Not a great TV brand. But if you could somehow get Ohio State, Notre Dame, Ohio State, or Texas, Notre Dame, it could be sensational. What I really think they want in the Final Four is Georgia, Penn State, and then, like you said, Ohio State, Texas.
Yeah,
that.
That's the Ohio State, Texas for sure. They want that. No, I think they want that more than anything. They want Ohio State because I think they think Ohio State is a favorable matchup to an Oregon. They want Ohio State and Texas in that Cotton Bowl for sure. They'll make $1 billion in a day if they put Texas and Ohio State at the Cotton Bowl. They'll be printing the money off if they do that. So I think they definitely want that. And folks, we'll see how that's going to turn out. We're out of time here today.
We're going to try to get press credentials.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna be beating the block down. I'm gonna be beating the block down for those press credentials if I can. Ohio State and Texas will be great. But want to thank everybody for tuning in with us today. Had a great show on here today. Want to thank all our new fans here on Centex Magic 94.5. We'll be back here tomorrow, 5 to 7 p.m. right here in the same place. I have Wayne Walker on here tomorrow. We'll talk some more ball. Want to thank everybody for tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow. Everybody have a great evening and happy holidays.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. Catch all your in-depth sports analysis with the best. The hottest sports show in the evening is Centex Primetime, hosted by Jalen Gillis.
Act like y'all know.
Weekdays 5 to 7. This is the Central Texas #1 leader in sports. Centex Sports Network.
That's right, sports fans. We can talk about sports.
And Infinity